What if I told you that in just 60 seconds your financial situation could be changed forever? Not a full week, not even a whole year. Just one focused minute of true prayer can put things in motion that your own hard work alone could not accomplish in years. Because when the spirit of shortage is shattered, abundant supply rushes in like a river. And today I'm going to reveal a prayer that possesses the capability to unlock financial openings within the next 24 hours. Now please pay close attention. Do not click away. Don't allow little things to steal this crucial moment. For 60 seconds, as you simply release your belief, you're not merely speaking words. You are actively commanding heaven's vast resources to line up with your specific need. This is absolutely not magic or superstition. It is a proven principle of divine law. Words filled with conviction create a connection between your current difficulties and God's amazing supernatural supply. Try to imagine yourself tomorrow at this exact time, suddenly receiving an unexpected telephone call, a crucial message, or a major opportunity that brings immediate financial relief. That isn't just a lucky break or coincidence. It is the very reward of deep faith released through simple prayer. The significant power of focused prayer rests in the hidden truth that when a person intentionally sets aside a brief amount of time, even if it is a mere 60 seconds, and directs their whole heart, their mind, and their words towards God with high intensity, something truly incredible begins to take place. Many individuals underestimate the importance of a brief prayer, assuming that unless one spends many hours in deep religious talk, nothing can truly be altered. But the standard of divine attention does not rely on the actual duration of the time spent. It relies on the true depth of your honesty and belief contained within that time frame. When an individual prays with total concentration, completely blocking out distractions, making sure their heart completely agrees with their spoken words, and sending those words to the heavens, that short moment becomes full of spiritual energy. 60 seconds may sound like just a quick second, but in the spiritual world, it can serve as a potent seed planted in good soil that quickly grows into a significant harvest, far greater than anyone expected. It is the focus that changes the moment into a direct channel for God's favor. In our daily lives, people often sadly waste countless minutes wrapped up in worry, fear, and high anxiety. A single minute is spent imagining worst-case outcomes, doubting their own talents, or repeating painful memories in their mind. If just 1 minute of focusing on negative things can damage an entire day by planting seeds of fear, how much more can one single minute of positive, faith-filled prayer change a day, a week, or even your whole life? Focused prayer means that during that short period, every single thought is completely brought into agreement with your spoken request. Your mind is not drifting, your heart is not divided, and your lips are not repeating empty, meaningless phrases. Instead, all your inner energy of sincere belief is precisely aimed into words of life. This type of intense focus is like a powerful magnifying glass catching all the sun's rays. What seems weak and spread out becomes strong enough to start a fire when all its energy is concentrated. There are countless reports and experiences of people who only dedicated a very short period to focused prayer and quickly saw a major change. The real importance is not the length of their request, but the intensity with which they made it. Some people prayed silently in their houses for just a brief time before leaving, only to immediately receive totally unexpected money or special favor the very same day. Others spoke out strongly for 1 minute, declaring total financial freedom, and within 24 hours, a long overdue payment arrived, a closed door finally opened, or a brand new opportunity appeared. The main factor in all these experiences is not a specific set of rules, but the singular focus. When true faith is condensed into one powerful, concentrated moment, the whole atmosphere shifts and the invisible world starts to act. It is vital to grasp that the human spirit connects with God most powerfully when all distractions are removed. Even in 60 seconds, when a person gets rid of doubts and sends up a focused prayer, the heart talks at a level that heaven instantly recognizes. Think of it like tuning a simple radio. If the dial is off by just a tiny bit, all you hear is annoying static noise. But when it's tuned correctly, even in a split second, the whole broadcast comes through clearly and with power. In the same manner, when your prayer is properly focused, it tunes your spirit to God's channel, letting divine answers flow to you without any blockages. The mind can easily drift, especially during very long prayers. That is why a short, highly focused prayer can sometimes be much more effective than a long session filled with interruptions and divided attention. It teaches you to control your thoughts, to have a clear intention, and shows the importance of making every word agree with your belief. A prayer spoken without proper focus is like multiple arrows shot in random directions, completely missing the desired goal. A prayer spoken with genuine focus, even if only for 60 seconds, is like a single arrow released straight at the center of your need, piercing through all spiritual barriers until a breakthrough occurs. That arrow carries faith as its sharp tip, and real faith always hits its target. Focused prayer also immediately brings deep peace within you. It calms your inner chaos by giving your heart something steady and unshakable to rely on. In that 1 minute, all anxiety is quickly replaced with solid trust, confusion is replaced with clarity, and fear is replaced with strong courage. This major shift in your inner attitude is not small at all. It can truly change how a person makes big decisions, how they confidently carry themselves, and how they naturally attract new opportunities. When the heart is completely settled in faith, the outside world starts to perfectly align with that peace, often resulting in the sudden arrival of necessary money, favor, and provision. This is exactly why even a single minute of truly focused prayer is never wasted. It sets both your inner self and your outer world moving towards a massive change. Spiritual authority is one of the most incredible realities a believer can learn, because it means recognizing that prayer is not simply asking for something, but actually commanding with the full support of heaven. When a person begins to pray over their money, over their lack, over doors that seem totally closed, they are not just speaking random words into the open air. They are actively using the authority given to them by God to strongly declare what should exist and to forcefully stop what should not exist. Many people live their lives completely unaware of this great authority, and so they passively accept whatever bad things life throws at them as an unchangeable fate. But when this spiritual authority is awakened, prayer becomes much more than a simple request. It becomes a decree, and decrees have the power to genuinely change the unseen world. To fully grasp this, one must first realize that lack, poverty, and financial problems are not just physical circumstances, but very often they are spiritual issues. They show up in the physical world, but they are often caused by invisible forces of restriction and delay. Spiritual authority allows a believer to face these forces, not with fear, but with dominion. When you stand to pray and say, "I firmly command the spirit of lack to leave my life," you are not speaking from your own human power. You are using the delegated power of God that works through words that are full of faith. Authority means that heaven itself immediately recognizes your strong declaration and enforces it in the spiritual realm, causing changes that eventually show up in the material world. Think about a police officer working on the side of a road. They do not have the physical strength to stop a rapidly speeding vehicle with just their hands. But when they raise their hand in authority, the car immediately stops because the officer carries the full backing of the law. In the same exact way, when you lift your voice in prayer using spiritual authority, lack has absolutely no choice but to obey. Doors of provision have no choice but to open. This is because you are not standing alone. You are fully supported by the very highest authority in existence. This is why using spiritual authority in prayer is never timid or doubtful. It is bold, confident, and commanding. There is a huge difference between asking a question fearfully and loudly declaring something with solid authority. Fearful prayer says, "I really hope something changes." Authoritative prayer declares, "By faith, I decree it must change now." Fearful prayer pleads as if unsure. Authoritative prayer commands because it knows the promise is already set. When spiritual authority is actively used, words become like the special keys that unlock what has been secured, or like heavy hammers that break whatever has been blocking your way. These words do not carry the weight of human opinion. They carry the full power of divine backing. This is why Jesus taught that whatever is tied up on earth will be tied up in heaven, and whatever is let loose on earth will be let loose in heaven. Authority is a partnership with heaven, and prayer is the way we unleash it. When applied to money matters, spiritual authority means that a person does not accept a cycle of shortages as something permanent. They boldly declare abundance, not because of greed, but because supply is a divine promise for anyone who aligns themselves with God. They command the spirit of delay to release whatever rightfully belongs to them. They strongly call forth favor, major opportunities, and clear open doors. And as these strong declarations are made, things start to shift in ways the natural eye cannot see at first. A business contact suddenly remembers your name. A large payment that was stuck finally gets released. A wonderful opportunity you were not expecting instantly arrives. These are not just lucky breaks. They are the direct results of authority used in prayer. Spiritual authority also demands responsibility. It is not about speaking carelessly, but about aligning your own life and heart with what you speak. Authority is respected only when it flows from your honesty and sincere faith. Empty words without belief have no impact. But when spoken with total conviction, they cause major movements in the unseen realm. The world of finance is absolutely not outside of God's influence. It is completely under His authority, and therefore is also under the authority of the believer who prays using that authority. The very moment a person understands this, their whole attitude in prayer changes. They stop pleading and start declaring. They stop doubting and start commanding. They stop living like victims and start speaking like winners. This is the entire meaning of spiritual authority. Knowing that your prayer is not just simple noise, but a powerful decree supported by heaven. And when that decree is sent out, it starts to rearrange your circumstances, shift resources, and break down barriers until abundant provision quickly flows. Faith as the trigger is the core power that makes any prayer truly effective. Because without genuine faith, words are merely sounds drifting in the air. It is faith that ignites the prayer and changes it into a powerful, living force that reaches all the way to heaven and immediately demands an answer. When a person prays without any faith, even if they pray for many hours, their words remain empty, like an arrow without a sharp tip. But when faith is absolutely present, even the shortest sentence carries a heavy weight of power that can change a bad situation in a single moment. Faith is the invisible spark that transforms a basic prayer into a divine order. And it is the strong guarantee that the things you've asked for will not only be acknowledged but will become real. Faith is not a vague feeling of just hoping for the best. It is a solid conviction, a deep certainty that what has been spoken will definitely happen, because God has already promised it. The human mind frequently struggles with doubt, especially when circumstances clearly show shortage, delay, or total impossibility. But faith is the amazing ability to look at those circumstances and refuse to be controlled by them. Faith speaks directly against visible facts using invisible truth. It looks at a totally empty wallet and still loudly declares abundance. It faces many unpaid bills and still confidently proclaims provision. It confronts rejection and still boldly announces open doors. This is why faith is called the proof of things you hope for and the evidence of things you cannot yet see. Faith holds onto the promise as if it were already real and physically present. And that attitude is what moves a prayer from earth to heaven with great power in the area of financial miracles. Faith acts like a real switch that turns on your divine supply. A person can speak a prayer for money or for provision, but unless faith is fully combined with those words, nothing is going to happen. Faith is what convinces your heart that even though no money is visible right now, the resource exists in the unseen world and is already on its way. This firm assurance keeps the believer steady and confident instead of anxious and afraid. Faith says, I have prayed, and it is completely done. Even when the bank account still shows a low balance, that unwavering certainty is what creates the opening for the provision to instantly appear, sometimes in ways that are totally unexpected. Faith also works actively by being spoken. Words without faith are hollow and empty, but words paired with faith create a perfect connection between heaven and earth. When a believer declares a financial breakthrough with true faith, it is as though they are writing a check in the spiritual world that will later be successfully cashed in the physical world. The authority behind the words is fueled by faith, and that faith is what causes angels, opportunities, and resources to physically move toward the believer. Without faith, even the strongest declarations sound like mere noise. But with faith, even the quietest whisper becomes a command with real impact. Another crucial part of faith is that it is often tested. When someone prays for a financial miracle, the circumstances often seem to get worse before they actually improve. This is the exact moment where your faith must prove its strength. Many people give up during that time gap between the prayer and the miracle appearing. But those who hold their ground, refusing to let doubt steal their confidence, are the ones who ultimately see the full breakthrough. Faith does not demand instant visible results, but rests confidently knowing the results are already being processed. That patience under pressure is what allows the invisible to become visible. Faith also possesses the power to attract. Just as fear pushes away opportunities and locks doors, faith actively draws them closer. When a person truly believes that provision is coming, they start to act, speak, and even carry themselves in a completely different way. That inner certainty creates an outer environment where other people are more likely to offer opportunities, assistance, and resources. Faith radiates, and that radiation generates favor. This is why people who have strong faith often appear lucky to those outside. But in truth, they are simply seeing the physical result of what they already believed. At its most fundamental level, faith as the trigger is simply trust in the true nature of God. It is not just about believing for money or for provision, but fully believing that the one who promised to supply all your needs is faithful and absolutely capable. That deep trust makes prayer incredibly powerful because it removes all hesitation. The believer knows they are not begging from an unwilling hand, but are receiving from a generous one. That certainty sharpens their words, strengthens their attitude, and speeds up the arrival of the answer. Faith does not beg for the blessing. Faith receives it in advance and then patiently waits for the physical proof. That is why 1 minute of prayer filled with true faith can achieve more than years of worried anxiety. Because faith is the trigger that shoots the arrow of prayer directly into the heart of the breakthrough. Time compression of miracles is the powerful concept that what should normally take many months or even years to complete can be fully accomplished in only a fraction of that time when divine intervention is working in the natural world. Processes are tied to time. A seed requires time to fully grow. Opportunities need time to fully develop. Debts take time to be fully paid off. And financial security requires time to be accumulated. But when your prayer and your faith connect with the supernatural, time is no longer a major limiting factor. God is not restricted by the human calendar or by the usual process of simple cause and effect. With His immense power, what should have required years to align can instantly converge in a single day. This is exactly why many reports of financial breakthroughs seem almost impossible to properly explain using simple logic. Someone might struggle for years, then after only one focused prayer, a door suddenly opens within mere hours. That is the incredible principle of time compression. Miracles move at a speed much faster than human expectation. This is not a denial of the regular process, but a profound acceleration of it. In the normal world, certain doors would demand networking preparation or slow, careful steps towards success. Yet, when divine favor is released, those steps are immediately shortened, and outcomes arrive much earlier than you ever expected. Think of a person who has been waiting for a payment from a customer for months. After they pray, the money is suddenly released and arrives the very next day. Or someone who has been applying for jobs with zero response suddenly receives several offers within 24 hours of firmly declaring a breakthrough. The miracle does not totally remove the process. It simply speeds it up dramatically under God's powerful influence. The negative forces that were holding things back are removed, and time seems to collapse. The human mind often believes that certain difficulties can only be resolved with the passing of time. Debt requires years of slow repayment. Lack requires gradual and careful savings. Opportunity requires long preparation. But in the spiritual world, time is not the master. God can position someone in just one day to recover what years of labor could not accomplish. The compression of time means that all waiting is shortened. Acceleration starts and positive outcomes arrive quickly. Financial miracles often carry this element of suddenness. People describe breakthroughs as out of nowhere, but in truth, they are the result of spiritual forces aligning events at a supernatural pace. There are many examples everywhere of this phenomenon. Someone can pray for provision and within 24 hours an unexpected refund appears, a forgotten old debt is repaid, or a large gift is suddenly given. These are not simply lucky accidents, but clear signs that prayer has pulled the future into the present. What was scheduled to happen later has been quickly rescheduled to happen right now. This is the deep mystery of compressed time in the realm of faith. It is as if the spiritual seed ripens much faster than the normal eye can understand, producing a harvest well ahead of schedule. One of the main reasons prayer can compress time is because it removes spiritual opposition. Often, blessings are delayed not because they don't exist, but because they are stuck behind spiritual barriers of doubt, fear, or strong opposition. When prayer filled with faith is released, those barriers are immediately broken, and what was being held back is freed to flow quickly. This release creates the feeling of suddenness. But in truth, the provision was already there. It was simply stuck. The moment the block is removed, what was meant for the future instantly appears in the present, creating the experience of a miraculous acceleration. Another aspect of time compression is alignment. Sometimes a breakthrough seems delayed because the right people, the right places, and the right opportunities are not yet perfectly lined up. Prayer has the power to bring those elements into alignment much faster. The person who needed to remember your name suddenly does. The company that was ignoring your application suddenly sees it. The family member who had money to share suddenly feels compelled to help you. This alignment is supernatural in its speed. It is as if complicated puzzle pieces that should have taken months to arrange simply fall into place instantly. Financial miracles are especially good at demonstrating this idea because money and opportunities are connected to people, to good timing, and to decisions. When time is compressed, those people make decisions faster, resources are released sooner, and opportunities that seemed far away arrive right now. The person who expected to wait years for debt clearance may suddenly get one phone call that wipes it all away. The person who thought provision would only come after long effort suddenly receives it as a gift. This is the great grace of compressed time. Taking the long path and folding it into a short one through God's power. The beauty of this principle is that it reminds believers not to limit God by the clock. Just because something seems physically far away does not mean it cannot happen in a few hours. Just because a bad situation looks as though it requires years does not mean the miracle cannot happen today. The key is to pray with the strong expectation that time is not a barrier for God. When this expectation is present, the heart is fully open to sudden miracles, the kind that compress time and bring what seemed distant into the present moment. A prayer spoken with faith can truly pull tomorrow's supply into today, and the person who fully believes will often find themselves saying, "It happened much faster than I ever thought it could." Bold declarations are the actual language of faith, the verbal way we express authority, and the visible proof that a person truly believes what has been promised to them. When a person speaks timidly in their prayer, their words lack conviction and carry very little power in the spiritual world. But when they stand up and speak boldly, their voice instantly becomes a weapon. Their words become arrows, and their declarations begin to change the whole atmosphere around them. Bold declarations are not about simply shouting or using dramatic tones for attention. They are about speaking with complete confidence and certainty that what you are declaring must come true. In financial matters, bold declarations hold the power to absolutely destroy the spirit of lack, to summon great abundance, and to command provision to appear where there seemed to be nothing. When you make a bold declaration, you are not simply asking life to change. You are commanding it to change. This is the whole idea of speaking as someone who clearly understands their rightful position. If a king issues a decree, he does not beg or plead. He speaks with finality, and his word immediately becomes law. In the same way, a believer who understands their authority does not beg poverty to leave. They declare forcefully, I am not lacking. I confidently walk in abundance. Doors of provision open for me right now. These words, when spoken in faith, carry a genuine spiritual weight. They send a clear message into the unseen world that cannot be ignored. Bold declarations also have the ability to reprogram your mind. Many people live completely trapped in cycles of negative talk, constantly declaring lack, defeat, and impossibility without even realizing it. Every time they say, I just can't afford this, or money never stays with me, they reinforce a belief that keeps abundance far away. Bold declarations in prayer do the complete opposite. They rewrite the inner script. When a person consistently declares abundance, breakthrough, and divine provision, their mind starts to shift, and so does their reality. Their expectations rise. Their decisions align with possibility, and opportunities that were once missed begin to be noticed and grabbed. In the world of money, bold declarations might seem completely illogical. To declare total abundance while staring at an empty account, or to loudly proclaim overflow while bills pile up, feels like a contradiction. Yet this is exactly where their power truly lies. A bold declaration speaks what should be, not what currently exists. It refuses to be bound by visible circumstances and instead draws its power from the invisible promise, saying, money comes to me while in lack. This is not denying the current reality. It is the creation of a higher reality. Those declarations are spiritual seeds planted in the spirit, and with consistent watering through faith, they will grow into a visible, physical manifestation. Declarations also have an activating effect. They greatly stir the believer's spirit, energizing them to take action that fully aligns with what has been spoken. When someone boldly declares, financial doors are opening, their confidence increases, and they start to notice opportunities they may have missed before. They approach life in a different way, with much greater courage and strong expectation, which in turn attracts favor and resources. In this way, bold declarations are not passive. They actively set the believer in motion. The sound of their own words builds courage deep inside them, creating a momentum that pushes them forward. Another layer to bold declarations is the atmosphere they create. Words carry energy that affects not only the speaker, but also the surrounding environment. A home filled with negative talk feels heavy, while a home filled with bold, faith-filled declarations feels light and expectant. When you declare abundance every day, your environment begins to reflect it. People who hear you feel your confidence, and they respond differently. Opportunities flow much more easily toward those who carry an atmosphere of certainty. Bold declarations transform ordinary spaces into places charged with high expectation. The spiritual realm also directly responds to bold declarations. Angels are often described as servants who act based upon the words of faith spoken by believers. When a bold declaration is made, it activates spiritual forces that begin to move in alignment with that word. Resources shift, people's hearts are stirred, and circumstances bend toward fulfillment. Silence leaves these powerful forces inactive, but bold words set them in motion. This is why prayer should not remain silent in the heart. It must be spoken boldly, because spoken words are the very carriers of your authority. There is also great persistence in making bold declarations. One declaration might start the process, but consistent repetition builds powerful momentum. Speaking once might shift the atmosphere a little, but speaking every day establishes a brand new reality. Just as a hammer hitting the same spot eventually breaks a hard rock, repeated bold declarations eventually break all resistance. Over time, the believer sees breakthrough, not because they desperately begged, but because they consistently declared until the spiritual world gave birth to the physical world. Bold declarations change prayer from simple requests into powerful proclamations of your destiny. They remove hesitation, replace fear with strong certainty, and align both your inner world and your outer world with the will of God. When someone stands firm and declares, provision comes to me now, they are not speaking wishful thinking, but releasing a spiritual law into action. The boldness of the words gives them their power, and the faith behind them ensures their complete fulfillment. This is exactly why bold declarations are an essential part of financial prayer. They shatter lack, they summon abundance, and they make the unseen completely visible through the force of confident, faith-filled speech.